Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your man, Lloyd Spencer. Find all of the latest odds, news, and sports development, including this year's NBA championship, the NHL conference finals, Major League Baseball, and the latest fighting news, and even next season's early NFL futures, all at BetOnline. Here's what you got to do. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BLEAV, B-L-E-A-V, to get the bonus and get into action. It's BetOnline. It's BetOnline.ag. It's where the game starts. And all you got to do is tell them the noise makers.
Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Yeah.
Can I make you move now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in the back of a can. You can make it round the world and the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. It's a popcorn world. It's a popcorn world.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Fern Creek Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course, Mama Noise's name, Lloyd Spence. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC. A glorious morning is upon us, which means it is time for us to believe in the ACC. This BLEAV thing takes on a whole new connotation this morning because we got men of the Lord. We always have men of the Lord. Like we're believers. We believe in the Lord. But we have a really special men of the Lord joining us this morning. He'll be here with us shortly. And of course, Charlie Ward is going to be here with us shortly. And Kendrick Haskins is here right now with, look at that shirt. That shirt is solo worthy. I like it. I like it. I gotta get my shirt game up.
Somewhere.
I gotta get my shirt game up. I gotta get my shirt. Yeah, he's good and terrible. He's good and terrible.
Get off the island.
Did you like the second one as much as the first one?
I don't like hardly any movie as much as the first one.
That's true. That's good. That's a really good point. There's very few times where the second one is as good as the first. But I did, unlike some people, like the second one.
I liked it.
I liked it for what it was. It was good.
I think a lot of people just like to be critical, and then and a lot of people like to be part of a group. And so once 5 people say it's bad, everybody else
everybody piles on,
even if they even haven't even seen it. So,
but it was impossible for it to match it. It's impossible. There's no way it was. There's no way.
No way that could happen. But,
I
mean, it was still good. I mean,
still a good movie. Still a good movie. Charlie Ward is here as well. Another man of the Lord.
Junior.
How's everything?
In the building. Yeah, man, we're good. We're good. So like I said, we got a very special guest joining us today. The incomparable Phil Morrison. He's going to be talking to us about Hoops for Christ and all of the great things they got going on over there. But I do want to hit a couple of quick stories before we bring on our special guest. That we did have breaking news this week of I would say, bizarre, surprising, but not shocking news nature. In that Charlotte Hornet and former U of L forward Montrezl Harrell was arrested this week, coming from Richmond, Kentucky. And as Stephen A. likes to say, he was on the weed. And if he had just been on the weed, it probably wouldn't have been as bad, because if he had just caught with some weed, like a little weed, it'd have been okay. But he was actually caught with 3 pounds of weed, which is a lot of weed. He had like one of those,
He's a mini Nate Newton.
He's a mini Nate Newton. He had a ground beef package of weed. It was a lot of weed. So I'm not sure why he had. Well, I mean, there are several obvious reasons why he had it. But
I mean, just to correct the timeline, he was actually arrested back in May, and
okay.
Yeah, the story is weird because it happened back then.
Wasn't it May 12th or something like that? Ridiculous like that. Yeah,
came out, but it feels like given the timeline, it feels like, because that's right around Derby. It was like after Derby, he was probably partying. Because I saw a lot of people was like, "Why was he in Richmond?" He wasn't necessarily in Richmond, Kentucky. He was driving
through. He was passing through.
Like, I don't know why people can't make that connection, but people.
He knew a guy who had a thing.
Yeah,
probably.
He could. I mean, if you get pulled, if I'm driving from here to Dallas and I get pulled over in random Tennessee, doesn't mean I was stopping through Tennessee. It just means
exactly.
I was But that aside, I don't know. I mean,
pre-draft link, pre-draft link, possibly sending the message.
I think though, I did see somewhere that like one of his former high school coaches in that area somewhere, so he could have been driving through. Anyway, that doesn't matter. The weed thing though, like you said, Lloyd, if he just had just a little bit on him, he probably have been fine. But but he had like baggies and 3 pounds of weed, and so it looks like they charged him with possession with intent to sell, and so that's what the issue is. But given how times are today, he's a pro athlete with a lot of money for attorneys that'll get played down. The league might suspend him for a game, maybe, and that'll be the end of it.
Oh no, he'll get more in the game. 3 pounds? Come on, Charlie. He's gonna get more in the game, right?
They were letting dudes bring in weed in the bubble, so
yeah, but they wasn't letting them distribute though. Like they
could have
been. They could have been in the puff weed, puff move.
Puff ass.
Yeah,
Charlie, your best guess. Does he get what kind of time you think he's gonna get from the league?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure he gets suspended just for the for getting whatever it is. But I think weed now is something that everyone's accepting. And it's not as big of a penalty as it used to be.
Right.
So, but I guess the intent to sell and all those types of things may come into play a little differently than just having some weed on you or smoking weed in some form of fashion.
Well,
we'll think he's gonna get from the legal system is a fine.
Probably it'll probably get. Yeah, I would think it's probably gonna get plead down considerably.
He's not going to jail.
I don't think so. I mean, I unless they want to make an example out of him. This is an election year, so I don't know. Well, we'll get back to some of that.
No one can go to jail for selling weed these days.
I would think these days, I would think these days that's a done deal. Like we've already settled that.
Especially somebody with money. Now, if it was me or Lloyd, we're going
to jail. There's no question. Well, one guy I'm real pretty confident is not going to jail for selling weed is Phil Morrison. Phil Morrison, let me just break news right here. Phil Morrison is not going to jail for selling weed. That's not going to happen. How you doing, sir? It's good to see you.
Hey, how you doing, gentlemen?
We are great, man. It is great to have you here on BLEAV in the ACC. You got myself, Kendrick Haskins, and of course the legend that is Charlie Ward in the building. And man, Phil, we are glad to have you, man. Now so you got Philip up there. Do you want to be known as Philip or Phil? Because I don't want to, if you get too personal, let me know.
No. You can call me Phil. That's good.
All right, cool. There you go. All right, cool. Awesome. Listen, I'm excited to have you, man, because I have always wanted to meet God's point guard, which is cool because I didn't even know God had a point guard. But apparently, you are the man that God called and said, hey, I'm starting this Hoop for Christ thing. How about you come run point for me? What was it like when you got that call?
You know what? That's the first time I've been called God's point guard. I like that.
Just remember me on your merchandising. That's all I ask.
Good, man. Actually, it started when I was playing overseas. I got connected to a missionary over there, and between my games and practices, he took me really into the slums, like seeing real third world poverty, like really changed my life. And I was in the Philippines at the time playing, and it's hard for a lot of people to really imagine, but basketball, especially in that country, basketball in the Philippines is bigger over there than it is here.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. As far as their passion for it, my first game in the Philippines was in front of 54,000 people in a soccer stadium. And my home, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and my home arena was where Ali fought Frazier in the Thriller in Manila.
Wow.
So there was these connections back home to Louisville, but the passion for it, you were, as Mr. Ward knows, you were their NBA player. You were on their ESPN, Fox Sports Asia. So it had this tremendous platform that I didn't want to waste. And I was already a Christian at the time. So I was just looking for opportunities to use basketball to make an impact.
Wow. So it was birthed in that environment. And so is it now, you know what? I am this year's old learning that Philippine basketball is a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. Wow. 54,000, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's huge. I played in 6 countries, all in Southeast Asia. Most people think of Europe, but basketball really is a global language.
Right.
I played in countries that don't even speak English, too. So it was just really cool to see how the game connected us globally, and then also with that missionary over in the Philippines, it was really cool to see how God brought us both together at the right time. And he made a profound impact as far as understanding that, your playing career is just a small window. Like you got it and it's fun. And when you're locked in trying to be the best player you can be, you only think about that. But, that time overseas, especially going into slums and they call them squatter areas, makeshift gyms, really opened my eyes to what, the purpose of basketball was in my life.
Wow. Well, we're off to a really good start because I got so many questions now. When you are in an environment like that and you see, because obviously if you're playing for this team and you're playing for the 54,000, there's somewhat of a, if I can use this term, an iconic like nature to you, to the people of that country. When you see that and then you said you go into the slum and you see that, what crosses your mind? Like, are you shocked, being from Louisville and you go there and you see that level of intense poverty or whatever? Are you shocked? Does it kind of throw you for a loop, or what was the reaction for you?
Yeah, I always say if what went on over there happened here in America, I always feel like there would be that shock and awe because, again, when I was over there, I was living on the 50th floor of a hotel connected to the biggest mall in Asia. And I just walked down. My training facility was like, a few blocks away, so I could walk to it every day. And as soon as you step out of your hotel or you step out of the mall or anywhere, there's just street children. And when I say street children, I mean like they're filthy, dirty, hoes in their clothes, no shoes, and they're carrying around other babies. And they live on the street. Like these people just live on the street. And some of them won't eat for a few days. You know what I'm saying? So that if you've never seen that and then you see it all of a sudden, it messes with your head. Like as far as you understand what actually sometimes what we consider a nightmare for us is actually somebody else's fantasy. Wow. You know, we stress over blessings. That's the thing. We don't really comprehend how blessed we are in our position in life. But when you see it in real life and think that child was born into it, it changes your whole perspective. And that's what it did for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot. Definitely. I've seen those as well. And it definitely gives you a different perspective on life here in the States. Once you see a third world country and how they live, especially the homes, those that live in homes or whatever you want to call them, they're like 4 and 5 and potentially 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 deep, living in a little, hut, what we would consider a hut. But Phil, I'm just curious to know, like, as a Christian, I guess over like in the Philippines or on one of your journeys in Southeast Asia, did you ever run into where you couldn't share the gospel openly, and you had to, I guess, kind of be discreet about your faith because of the area that you were in?
Yes, sir. Actually, my first contract was in Vietnam, which is a communist country. So wow. I was in Ho Chi Minh, which they call Saigon, and I always joke, we were called the Saigon Heat, and at that time, that was when they had, LeBron, D Wade, the Heatles. So our branding was the Miami Heat. It's just a bunch of Asian stuff. Everything about us looked like the Miami Heat. We had 2 big American imports, and everybody else was Asian, and we looked like the Miami Heat, and they treated us like the Miami Heat. Wow. But being in a communist country, it's a little more relaxed. Like Hanoi is the more communist capital. Saigon is known more as the party city. You gentlemen might know, with our roots going back to the Vietnam War, me and my wife's parents were a little reserved about going over there. But when you got over there, so much of that generation had actually already died off. And it was a very young population over in Vietnam. So there wasn't that, like when they see an American, you think almost it'd be hostile in a way. And it was the exact opposite. It was a different type culture there. But, with Kendrick, he came to my coaches and trainers conference last week. That was not supposed to be a Christian conference. But what I found is that it's not that I'm quoting chapter and verse in the Bible. For me, I really evolved to where it just flows. Like I might be talking about the principle of reaping and sowing from the Bible. I'm not necessarily quoting a verse, but I'm giving you the truth of what it is. And that's really how I approach it. Because definitely you can't force something like that. If God's going to do a work in a person's heart, it's of the Spirit. It's not of man. So you really just got to sow seeds, and sometimes it falls on good soil. Sometimes it falls on hard soil, but that's not our responsibility.
Wow. All right. So you wrap up the career and you head back. And like I said, you get the call. I'm about to be the point guard for Hoops for Christ. What you brought that back to Louisville? Why Louisville?
Well, I'm from here. My whole vision was it was twofold. One was when I was playing professionally, they would bring in these professional skill trainers. Now, this is before it became what it is now. Like social media and Instagram has turned it into a whole other monster. But I realized, like, no, there's actually very good professional coaches that are on the court doing player development, which you would know, or you would know all about that. So, and the league has 6 guys per team now, but they would bring them in, pay them like an ungodly amount of money to train us. And it was everybody, Impact, IMG, professional ones, my guy Gannon Baker, who was at my clinic. And I was like, wow, this is actually profession. So for a few of them they would bring in, that was always my thing. I was the gym rat, the one that trained. Not being the most athletic or gifted player, I was just always in the gym. I almost loved training as much as I did playing. And my teammates would affirm that in me. They would say, Phil, like you could really do this. And sometimes they'd be like, yo, the team should have just paid you. Your workouts are as good as them. So I was like, okay, I can really do this. So that's really how it started. Was number one, I wanted to be one of the best player development coaches in the world. And I wasn't sure what route I wanted to go. I just knew that I wanted to do that full time. And then the second part of it was I wanted to do something really unique, which was to mix ministry in with the basketball training and development. I didn't really have anyone to look at to see what that would look like. So in a lot of ways, I had to pray about it and pioneer kind of the path that I wanted. But it just became very natural that I come back home. Kendrick knows one of my best friends, Terrence Farley, played at U of L. He was one of the first people I called up to join me. And that's really how it started, was when I came back home to Louisville, just trying to network with different people and get it started.
Now, I have to apologize, Ken, before you go, because I'm from Louisville as well, and I didn't ask the number one Louisville question after somebody tells you you're from Louisville, which is, what school you go to? That's the number one Louisville question, Charlie.
Yeah, it's weird, but yeah.
But yeah, we have to ask what high school you went to.
Yeah. I went to, I grew up and went to PRP High School, and then I went on to Asbury University.
There you go.
Which is just outside of Lexington.
Yeah.
So Lloyd went to Western.
I went to Western, yeah.
Okay. It's good being a hilltop right now. Then.
No, he's a Western warrior.
No, I'm a Western warrior.
Okay,
no, we rival right.
Y'all for real, right?
You right off Dixie Highway then.
Yeah. Right off Dixie, that's right. That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I feel that one of the things that I've admired about you, because it's one of the things I preach to interns when they come in and job shadows. It's like, don't be afraid to learn from your peers. And obviously you do that, because when you bring in like the heavy hitters that you brought in last week for your camp, you were learning too. You and Terrence were both learning from the shooting coaches and all the coaches, the NBA assistant coaches that you brought in. And it just talks about how you have to humble yourself to be able to learn from someone else, because I mean, that's one of the things that I do all the time. I'm learning from somebody else all the time. You have to be able to humble yourself to learn from someone else.
Yeah, I think the moment you can't be teachable, I had a mentor and pastor told me this. He said, the moment you can't be teachable is the moment you stop learning, for sure. And most people, what I found, most people don't want to learn. They just want to feel accepted. So they wait for their opportunity to insert their knowledge. They don't sit and listen and absorb. And what I was fortunate is I was able to bring the best in the world to my hometown. And I ran a whole coaches conference. We had coaches from 35 states, 5 countries fly into Louisville. And they learned from Phil Handy, who's with the LA Lakers. If you don't know Phil Handy, he's at the top of the game right now. He's LeBron's trainer, with Kyrie's, KD's, Kawhi's. I mean, you go down the list. He's probably the most respected player development guy in the league. Gannon Baker, who I consider the OG of the private sector. He kind of pioneered the whole industry. And then Rob Fodor, who is the Miami Heat's shooting coach. So I brought in these 3 along with other guys from overseas, coaches from China, coaches from Italy. And it was just a pleasure I hosted. So I was not a speaker. I was not the keynote. I was not there to try to jump on this wave. I really just wanted to put everyone else in a position and then to be a fly on the wall. You know, the first night that they all flew in, we all stayed at the downtown in a hotel downtown, and we watched the NBA Finals that Thursday night. And to be a fly on the wall and to hear them talk about the game, and you get the Kobe stories. You know, Phil Handy got into the NBA because he was Kobe's guy originally.
Right.
You get the Kobe stories. You get the back Westbrook stories. I got to hear the truth about what's going on with the Lakers. You got to hear just how the game is played it that way. But let me say this real quick. Their chemistry and synergy between those 3 men at the very top blew me away. You can never predict chemistry.
Right.
They would one of them would literally took a notebook out and was taking notes while they were having a conversation. And their humility to learn from each other like made a profound impact on me, because I'm an up and coming coach, player development, and there's so much of it is driven by pride and ego and the need to be seen, and jealousy and envy and lack of ability to collaborate and network. To see at the top what it looked like made a profound effect. So what I realized was you really just need to shut up and listen and learn when you have an opportunity. You know, don't miss that thing, that gem that could change your life because you want to feel like you're a part of the in crowd and you want to insert your knowledge.
Well, Phil, that just sounds impressive.
I mean, back to being humble. At the end of the day, it goes back to being humble because
100%. Yeah,
you have to be able to put your ego to the side to be able to learn from other people who are doing, you know, especially when they're doing the exact same job that you're doing.
So I gotta ask this question: is it harder to do your job when people know that you love the Lord?
Harder? Oh man.
Because some players shy away from that. They're like, yes, you know, is he really a good trainer? I mean, he might be one of them Christian fanatics, whatever. We know the stigmatism that's around, you know, saying you love Jesus. We've all dealt with it. You know, I've dealt with it in my business. And so, you know, but they think you can't bring the knowledge or the intensity. So I'm asking you, have you dealt with any of that in this earlier part of your career here?
Man, you know, I think I really believe in your reputation precedes you. I don't think people contact you when they first hear about you. They ask somebody about you. They watch you on social media. A quick story is I got hired by UAB. You know, they were one of the first Division I programs to hire me before NIL. So you couldn't really do it on top of the table. You had to do it under the table. So what they did was they hired me to come in, and I was the trained three pockets of their guards, their wings, and their bigs. But the way they paid me was through their elite camp, you know, where they have 90 kids come in, pay their fee. They're looking at 10, but 90 think they're going to get a scholarship.
Right.
So you're looking at 10 players. They give me the list of 10 players. They're like, Phil, you run the drills over here, scrimmage, give me an evaluation. That's how they paid me. But they really brought me in for 3 days to train the players. Now, what I found out from the assistant coach, he's not just bringing in anybody. And he was putting his reputation on the line to the head coach that this guy knows what he's doing. Well, the one reason he brought me in is for about 6 months, he had been watching me teach pick and roll actions, how to read ice coverage, blitz, blue, how to reject the screen. So all these coverages that I learned overseas, and I was one of the very few that was actually posting this type of stuff on Instagram. You know, most Instagram is just, you know, break down Kyrie's move last night, 10 dribbles,
right,
ISO, no spacing, no player movement, no pick and roll action, nothing. So I was teaching the opposite of that. And I realized he'd been watching me for 6 months once I got down there finally. So he wasn't just going about it. And for him, he actually wasn't a believer. So he came to me strictly because he felt like I had a gift or I could bring value to his program to do this. Going back to what I said, you know, my original objective was to be one of the best in the world at player development, and then not fall off in my ability to deliver the gospel in a unique way that isn't forceful. So that's always kind of been my, you know, my objective about it. Yeah.
Love it.
It's one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on today is because you and my buddy down there, Coach Junior, have a similar outlook on coaching and including Christ into the way you coach and the way you teach. What's been kind of the road to developing your voice and being able to do that? Because, you know, it's like Lloyd said, it's not always easy to be able to just hop in and do that and talk to kids. What was kind of your road and, you know, kind of navigating how to get into all that and still incorporating Christ?
Well, first off, I'd actually like to get Coach's perspective on that. I had no idea you were going to be on here because I remember I admired you watching you. So I would like to get your perspective on this. But for me, I feel like it really comes down to confidence and understanding what your gift is. What I found is there are a lot of good basketball players that do not have the ability to teach. People think just because I played college ball or pro ball does not mean you're a teacher.
Right.
Teaching is a separate gift from God. To me, when I've been around the best teachers in the world, it's not that they had to play at a high level. It's great if you have both. But being around a great teacher having the ability to connect, having the ability to pick up on cues, body language, things like that, and to speak into a person's heart, soul, mind, and spirit is a gift from God. I don't think that's just something, oh, I played basketball, I know a lot about the game, but you have no people skills. You have no communication skills. So for me, those were the two things: is one, becoming confident in who you are. And for me, it was becoming what I call the basketball missionary. You know, I'm not Phil Handy. I'm not Gannon Baker. I'm not Coach Ward. I'm Philip Morrison, and my gift is this. And I'm going to stay in this lane and be consistent, because the tortoise beats the hare. I'm just going to plug away at what I do in my lane. And then understanding that I recognize in myself and from other people around me that I trust, that would tell me, hey, you suck. Like, you're terrible at this. Move on. The wounds of a friend are faithful. I'm listening to them.
Right.
But they identified a gift in me to teach the game. And, you know, this past weekend, with the best in the world, in my opinion, they had identified that gift, which boosted my whole mindset and confidence as well. But, Coach, I don't know how you feel about that. I would love to get your thoughts on that.
Yes. How does the state championship coach Charlie Ward feel about that? See what I did there?
Phil, you see what I have to go through, right?
Yes, you do.
But no, you're 100% correct, because that was one of the reasons why, for the longest time, not long time, but I really didn't know what I wanted to do after I retired. I mean, I grew up my dad was a coach, and I felt like the game came easy to me, regardless of what it was, sport-wise, because I had great hand-eye coordination and I was just athletic. And so I felt like I couldn't teach a kid or whoever it may be what to do and how to do. But when I started thinking back at all the fundamental things that I learned from my coaches, from a athletic standpoint, and how that helped me to become the athlete that I became over the course of time. And then I started thinking about, you know, the impact that a guy like Coach Jeff Van Gundy had on me, from a basketball skill development standpoint. You know, all the times I was in the gym doing drills, you know, working on all these different things, and how it transferred over to the game, you know, game-like drills. You know, I started to see maybe this is something I can do, and because there are a lot of things that I learned from just a lot of the coaches I had over the course of my career. And I tried my hand at it, and I started repeating a lot of things that I learned, you know, from, you know, putting schedules together, shooting drills, things that transferred over to the game, watching film with guys, because that was something that I learned as well, and start looking at the little fine points of what it's going to take to be that athlete that can make it. And I enjoyed coaching the young guys while I was in the NBA. I didn't really like dealing with the veteran guys, because they were at a certain level, right. And they weren't really, I don't say they weren't coachable, but it was, you know what I mean. So that's where I kind of fell in love with the part of coaching, and helping you're able to help guys from your experience. And then of course you start, you know, listening and watching other people and start implementing some of those things. And so, you know, now, I mean, I coached football for 9 years. I don't know if you know, but I coached football for 9 years after I left the NBA. And I wasn't very good in the sense of winning football games, but the process of losing helped me develop to be more than just a winning football coach. Our process was what it was, you know, being able to help young men understand that sometimes you put the time in and the work in, but you're not going to always win on the scoreboard. But the process can definitely help you be a better man long term, because you have to learn how to deal with adversity. When you see success, you have to make sure that it's brought out to light, because sometimes when you're going through tough times, people don't look at the small wins. And so that's one of the things I learned over the course of time, that, even if you're winning a lot, you still have to find ways to celebrate the small wins, and keep it moving. So I'm always interested in learning. I'm always calling my buddies I'm still trying to figure out how to guard the basketball and the 3-point line at the same time. So I'm always watching, the NBA games on how they do it, because we're in a 5-out, situation. I just had this in camp where a team beat us in camp and they went 5-out, like 5 guards.
Right.
And they were able to shoot the basketball, space the floor. But now I'm just trying to figure out how to combat that, when teams go to a 5-out, who am I going to put in? So I'm always looking at, the NBA games to see how they do matchups and all the different things as well. So I think you're constantly trying to find, ways to get better. And I think that's in any profession. If you're trying to be successful, I'll just say that.
Yeah, I want to stay here in this question for just a second, because this is really good. And I'm asking both of you gentlemen, how do you get today's player? Because I hear this from coaches all the time. How do you get today's player to focus on the work of basketball, of just simply getting better, not trying to play a game, not trying to go win an AAU title or something like that, not trying to move up the star rankings, but just focusing on the work? How do you get them to want to fall in love with the work?
Yeah, I'll take that first, Coach. I'm a big believer in passion before work ethic. And I deal with kids and I deal with those AAU parents. I know what I'm talking about.
I can't wait to hear this answer.
I'm not stereotyping. What I'm telling you is there's some ones doing a good job at, but there's a reason why there's a reputation.
Right.
And this is why I say this. And this is going to go back to parenting more than anything. Because I found, as a player development coach in a local community dealing with kids and parents that think they got the next LeBron James, all of them, that it comes back down to parenting. And this is why I say this. If you force a child to try to love the game or work hard at it because they're talented, because they're athletic, because they've got potential, before they fall in love with the game, they are going to rebel. They're going to revolt. It's just a matter of time. They'll get burned out. It's just, I see it over and over. If you allow a child to organically fall in love with the game, the work will follow. You work hard at things you love. That's why they don't want to do their homework, but they stay up all night doing video games to get their 2K rating up. Mm-hmm. You work hard at things you love naturally, because for me, and I'm sure you guys can speak to this too, when you fall in love with a sport, it is your outlet. It's your safe haven. It's where I felt connected when I was between the 4 lines of a court. Now, when I'm between the 4 lines of a court, it's my sanctuary. It's when I feel closest to God. So for me personally, I always say, like, they have to fall in love with it, and you have to cultivate an environment of, like, it's okay to fail. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to fail. Like, develop a growth mentality in a child or a player so they don't feel so tight. And that's a fine balance if you're trying to coach your child, train your child, push your child. It's the reason why I think I'm probably going to be a little more hands-off with my 2 sons, is just allow them, give them to somebody else, because I want to stay dad. I want that dad relationship. Now, the reason why I say it comes back to parenting is this. I deal with it on a daily basis where they don't. They push them hard.
Right.
You're talented. I've invested too much into you. Right. And here's what happens. Not only is that child going to burn out and quit the sport, they're going to hate you, the parent, and you're going to kill your relationship with your child. I see it all the time. It's a sad thing, but you've got to allow them to fall in love organically, put them in a position to be able to grow and fail where it's okay, and then they'll take off. I've seen it from there. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents on it from where I'm living at. I might be wrong, but from where I'm at, I see it where the passion has to come before the work ethic.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with the passion part. I know that's something that I, as an athlete, I did. Like no one had to tell me to go out and play sports. That's something I just enjoyed doing. And so when it was time to be pushed and work and those types of things, I was willing to do it. One of the things I know for me as a coach that I've learned is like Phil, I've seen all the athletes, all the parents. There's like no parent, no athlete that I hadn't seen. They're just coming all different types of parents and players, and they all have the similar excuses. When you hear one excuse, you've heard it 1,000 times before, and you automatically kind of go back to what this person thought and how the outcome came. And one of the things that I've worked to try to do is when you hear someone is looking to transfer or the parents are putting their name out there, well, they're already gone. Like, I mean, that's a given. Kind of know that's what they're doing. And then sometimes it could be where they're looking to get more attention from the coach, more playing time, whatever it may be. But I just think it's important to know that one of the things that I work really hard with our guys on is talking to them about their expectation. They say they want something. You ask them what they want, what are their goals, and you say, this is how I can help you get there. And so that's the way you kind of hold them accountable. And the parent as well, sometimes they are a little over the top. But I think if you work, and like I said, sometimes it does work and sometimes it doesn't. Just giving them real expectations of where you think. Now, this is my opinion. You can run with it or not. I mean, that's your deal. But I just want to give you my thoughts on where your son's potential lie. And I always talk to him about, if you're playing multiple sports, if you're a multi-sport guy or girl, whatever it may be, whatever your major sport is, you have to work at it. But your minor sport, you got to do something, to keep, while you're doing your major sport, you got to do something to keep your rhythm for, your minor sport. Because I had a kid this year who plays football, and he came back to basketball after the season, and he felt like he could shoot the basketball. Well, he couldn't. I mean, he was bad. He thought he was going back to where he left. He was doing okay before the basketball season, like his in the JV, but he just couldn't shoot. And so he came back feeling like, man, that's what I got to do. So we had to reel him back in and say, hey, you hadn't been working on this. You hadn't put the time in on your shooting. So this is what we need for you to do. This is how we need for you to play. And he stopped shooting. He started to understand his role, and he flourished in that role. And so I just think sometimes they just need to be told, this is what your role is. If you want to be good at or do this, you need to put more time in.
Is it hard to get kids to not buy into the Steph Curry effect? Because you mentioned 5 out, and you mentioned the guy wants to shoot like, he comes back and he's like pulling up from half court. How do you stop today's kid from wanting to be Steph Curry without actually putting in Steph Curry type work?
Well, that's the first thing.
Yeah, go ahead, Coach.
I said that's the first thing. You got to let them know that Steph Curry put the work in. I mean, we sit there and watch him on TV, but go pull up some of them videos that he posts about his work. Yeah. And so when you start doing that, then let me know. I mean,
I mean, you can just look at Steph Curry and tell the work he's put in. Look at him. Look at his arms today.
Yeah.
What they were when he first went into the league. Yeah, pipe cleaners. I mean, you get to see the work that he's put in just physically, let alone him hitting threes from half court all the time.
I honestly don't think kids truly understand that play. I think he's the most misunderstood player in the history of the game because they think, oh, he's a little dude. He's just pulling up. I can do that. I found my niche. No, you have not found your niche. You found a path that is incredibly difficult if you're not willing to put the work in. Are you seeing that same thing, Phil?
Yeah, and that's why I like those videos of when he makes like 113 straight in the practice facility. Mm-hmm. Like for you to coach knows more than for you to shoot at a 40% clip in the NBA when you're targeted. So now you're sprinting, running, and you're shooting from that kind of distance. I would say you're easily on a catch and shoot in practice, shooting at least 80% from the 3-point line. You're just catching and shooting. You're on a Dr. Dish or in the practice facility, so I think there's that aspect of it. You know what I mean? Is they don't understand to shoot at that level, you have to practice at this level.
Right.
I think people have the misconception, especially kids, they have the misconception that that's easy. Oh, I can just pull up,
And you can, but it's not going in.
Right.
You're not making that shot.
Pull up and shoot, like Phil said, you're not going to just pull up and shoot 40% from three in the NBA. Like when you're targeted and from that distance, and the amount of conditioning Steph has to go through to be able to do that, because he runs. I'm only on the player that runs around like Steph does is Reggie Miller.
Right.
And the amount of conditioning it takes to do that, and ironically, I just looked over and see Aaron Donald over there working out. But
he's another freak.
The amount of work that goes into what Steph does, and I think a lot of the younger players they just see the finished product. They don't see how how the sausage is actually made. And how do you convey that to these kids, Phil?
I think for me too, the main thing is teaching them routines. That's huge for me because routines take the emotion out of training. You know what I'm saying? So most kids, they practice based on how they feel. Well, some days you just don't feel like it, right? You stayed up all night. You just don't. So routines, like we talk about, I do my routine religiously. What they're basically saying is I took the emotion and the thinking out of it. So for me, something practical as a player development coach that works with kids, is figuring out, okay, here's a routine. You don't have to think about it. You show up, you do your routine, and as they mature and they become more of a high level player, then you can add pieces to it. But if you give them a shooting routine, a ball handling routine, a footwork routine, then that is an easy way to get them started in the right direction.
Man, you got an impressive group of guys around you that are helping you build this thing. Talk about those guys for a minute, Phil, and how they've not only impacted your program, but impacted you personally to make this whole Hoops for Christ thing what it is today.
Yeah. Well, I really believe in player development and skills training, especially if you're in the private sector like me. A lot of them are lone rangers. And I think it goes back to we as men are competitors by nature when you come out of a sport as a player. It doesn't translate well into coaching and into business, because if you're always looking for the other person to lose for you to win, you have a ceiling that's very low. You don't have the ability to collaborate, to network. And one thing I realized early on was, I didn't have any pride or ego in it because I was actually trying to do ministry out of it. I think that actually helped me. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're a player development coach, and coach, you could attest to this, there's so many shady people.
Right.
So many shady people that are willing to cut somebody's legs off just to get one step ahead. And so if that becomes the culture of skills trainers or coaches, a lot of times, you can only burn so many bridges and you can only go so far by yourself. And for me, my objective from the beginning was to attract in people that were on the same wave as me, on the same vibration as me, of like putting out the same energy into the world as me and wanting to make an impact. And so by God's grace over the years, I've developed I've had the opportunity to work with a whole team now. And, we're able to get a lot more accomplished that way. And I've been very fortunate that they've been high level college players, pro players. We're a brotherhood, man. We go into prisons together. We started a prison basketball ministry. We go into prisons and play. We work with different ministries and churches. We run our own academy, our own league. We have our own coaches. We don't have no parent coaches, no daddy ball, no politics. Just,
oh my goodness,
we're able to do that because the team comes together. We all grow together, and we put our egos aside and our pride aside. And so I've been very fortunate. I don't want to say it was something I did at all. I've just been very fortunate that God's brought other great men in my life.
That's awesome. What happens when you guys point guard. You build a team around you. First of all, I feel like the Philip Morrison, Coach Ward meet and greets. We got to make that happen. I feel like you guys are destined to be in the same room.
I would be honored. I really.
You got to figure something out with it. Kendrick.
Serious. I literally turned on the Zoom and I was low key kind of freaking out.
Were you freaking out a little bit?
I thought it was just going to be me and Kendrick. I already had my 10 seconds of fame with Kendrick. He's my guy now. But, I would be honored, Coach, to meet you one day, man, and pick your brain. Honestly, just sit and learn from you.
I mean, we got to get. I said something to Pinky last year, and Phil, Pinky. We got to get Coach Ward's state championship team up here for the King of the Bluegrass in December.
Hey, for sure.
I don't know if we're ready for that fire. I'm not sure we're ready to come to Kentucky yet.
Oh, whatever. You're a state champion.
You literally just won the state championship like about an hour and a half ago. So what are you talking about?
You'll be all right, Coach. Just throw on a jersey. You'll be all right.
No.
If there's one thing you want people to be, if you want it to be synonymous with Hoops for Christ, and I know we got to wrap up here in just a second, but just what would that thing be that you want to be the main thing that's out there about what you guys are doing and you bring to the table?
I use basketball to share the gospel. That's my objective in life. My objective with the game of basketball is I try to use basketball as a platform to make an impact, invest, teach, inspire. But ultimately, I believe the best versions of ourselves are when we're just mirrors.
Yeah.
We want to be the superstar, but really we were created to reflect the light of God. And that is when you're at your best. We all got our issues. We're all broken sticks that can still draw straight lines to him. We're all broken vessels that can hold a little bit of living water with the short time that we have on this earth. And so that's really my objective. And it just happens to be through basketball.
Yeah.
So it's the reason why I didn't go into full-time ministry as a pastor, was because I realized that my platform and my ability to make an impact, I had a unique thing with basketball. And it's the reason why God allowed me to play at the college level and the pro level, is to keep doing that through the game. So that's my whole objective with Hoops for Christ.
Well, we didn't need another pastor. We needed a Philip Morris. That's what we needed. That's for sure. I'm gonna tell you this, man. You're so impressive, and you remind me. When I was reading your story and everything, and just understanding, and even hearing you now, you do remind me of Steph Curry in this one thing. Well, many things really, but this one specific thing. I heard LeBron say about a week ago on the show that if there's one player he wanted to play with, it was Steph Curry, and everybody's like, well, he just wants to go to Golden State. I don't think that's it. I think there's a light that shines in that dude that balances faith and talent, that transcends everything that is the NBA. And there's a curiosity in LeBron, who is an icon in his own right, that says, I'm great, but there's something about this dude that's different. And to me, that's the key component that I see in you. Anybody can. There's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of player development guys. There's too many player development. There's as many player development guys as there are pastors. We could just be honest about that. But there's only a few special guys that have something that shines differently than everybody else. And that's what I pick up when I'm rapping with you, man. You are a very impressive person, guy.
Man, I appreciate that. I would never put myself in any category with Steph Curry ever.
Stop it. That's why I did it. That's why I did it.
I will say this. You know what I admire about Steph Curry? And you brought this up. Is it hard to get in the door if they know you're what you are?
Mm-hmm.
They killed Steph Curry. I remember this because I watched sports talk radio shows and stuff. They killed him whenever Kevin Durant came in because he was so willing to be like, after being a 2-time MVP and a champion, be like, I'm going to step to the side because this guy is the one that needs to actually be the one out front. He needs to be the first option when they brought in KD. Right. And his willingness to be at that high level with that talent and stay humble and be able to work with other people, right? Not to point out, but just look at how disastrous. There's a lot of reasons. I probably shouldn't say that, but I'm going to use the Lakers as an example because
that's a good example.
But here's the truth. Here's the truth. The reason why I say that, because I actually know the truth behind it now. It's just the egos. It's not coach attests to this, is when you're dealing with veterans who've done what they've done, they are who they are, they only going to listen so much. They get paid more than you, and they're more valuable than you, coach, at that level. So what I appreciate about that is someone who is all-time great, who should have an all-time ego. He's earned that right. Willing to be like, I'm going to do this for the team, for the better of others. And to me, that is what's very rare. And I appreciate about him.
Well, Phil, I got one last question for you. Since we're talking about the Lakers and Golden State in some form, would you trade, and this is hypothetical, of course, would you trade LeBron James for Draymond Green at this point in their careers?
I think player for player, every day I would train LeBron James for Draymond. But when Draymond was out this year, that was the 6-week slump that Steph had.
Mm-hmm.
When Steph broke the 3-point record, he bought Draymond a Rolex for a reason.
Yeah.
Draymond's not even looking to shoot. Coach, you know this. They're backing off Draymond. Yo, shoot. Get 30. As long as Clay, Steph, and Poole don't. And he's not even – he knows his role so well. He's a banger. He's nasty. He's your goon. He's your Charles Oakley mixed with your point guard. Right. He's willing to do all the dirty work. And when he's at the top of the key, he's just looking to swing and set up. And that team goes because of Draymond. In my personal opinion, that team goes because of Draymond. If the mic is turned on, I've noticed they've been turning the mic off on the defensive end because you don't want to hear what Draymond's saying if you miss a defensive rotation.
Right.
He is the guy. Not saying LeBron wouldn't be that guy, but for me personally, when you have chemistry, don't mess it up. We thought the Lakers would work.
I didn't.
That chemistry was LeBron.
And I'm a Laker, and these guys will tell you I'm a diehard Laker fan. I never thought it would work.
The chemistry is so off in that organization, top to bottom. But everybody is trying to emulate Golden State. The Rockets were right there. They were a hamstring injury from Chris Paul away from maybe beating them. They were built to emulate the Warriors and beat them, and they couldn't. And they shot more threes than the Warriors, and they became Moneyball. They became the analytics team of the league. So for me, I wouldn't mess with the chemistry. So long answer. I would say no. I'm not doing it.
There you go.
On paper, player for player, I would trade just about anybody but Giannis or Luka for LeBron. Anybody but those two, I would take LeBron over.
Kendrick.
I'll trade him. I mean,
Phil, thank you, man, for coming through. This has been fantastic, and you got to come back and share some more things. And when is the next? You got any more conferences or any more things you want to let the people know that is coming up?
Honestly, everything is at hoopsforchrist.org. We train year round. We do. I'm really trying to I'm trying to slowly evolve into a European club system, which is developing at the low level and allowing the talented ones to move up. So I'm not a fond of the AAU system, which is kind of just pull people from anywhere, throw them together, let's hit it on the weekend, grab all the talent. I'm really about development, both on the court and off the court, spiritually and mentally. So I would like to develop the young ones. So we have youth leagues year round, 4 leagues a year, and then on into our training academy and private training. So everything, I appreciate you putting that up, hoopsofchrist.org.
Awesome. Thank you, sir, for coming through. We appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it, Phil.
It was an honor. Thank you, guys. Kendrick, thank you for the invite, brother. And yeah, anytime you want me back on, I'd be honored.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. God's point guard, Phil Morrison. Give it up for him.
All right, fellas, take care.
All right.
Yeah.
That's an impressive dude. That is an impressive dude. Like, for real. He's figured it out.
Yeah, I've
figured it out.
Phil a few times, and I was at his camp, like he said, I was at his camp last week, and it just dawned on me, it's like, he'll be a perfect guest for this show.
Yeah.
Does a lot. I mean, and Terrence Farley, the former guard that works with him, they've been doing this for years, and the thing that stands out to me the most is, as knowledgeable as they are, they're still sponges. They've been doing this for a long time now. I think they've been doing this for close to 10 years, but they're still sponges, and Terrence is like blown away by how much he was learning at the camp that he's helping run, and you don't do it every day. And I said that's a humbleness inside of you to be able to be putting on an event and learning from the people that you brought in to teach. And that's one of the things that sticks out to me with those two guys.
Coach, I know you got to get out of here, but I did want to ask you this question before you go. How important is a voice like Phil's in today's basketball world, especially with younger players?
Well, a voice like his is always welcome. So regardless of what the era is.
Yeah.
I think it's important because the heart behind what he's doing is what you really get behind. Not so much the skill development or the knowledge, but just his heart to want to help kids develop, also parents, grow and understand what it's going to take to get to that next level. Like, everyone wants to get to the next level, I hope, anyway, especially if they're going to a private sector, to help their kids develop, in basketball. But the one thing that I realize and understand for him is he's teaching the whole child. And that's one of the things that goes missing a lot in private training or even coaching sometimes. You always thinking about where you are as far as the sport, whatever sport it may be, and trying to get them better in that area. But a lot of times you miss out on the opportunity to teach the whole child. And the experiences that they have through their sport is, teachable moments to be able to help them understand, what accountability looks like, what being a great teammate, how it transfers over to being a great husband. How those things play a big part in, getting a job, whether it's being late or being early, which one is it? And so, you have to help them understand all those things. And that's what I mean by teaching the whole child, and not just allowing guys to come in and do whatever they want to do, and then say, oh, you can still play. That's not teaching the whole child.
Right.
Coach,
I know you got to run, but you got any shout outs before you go?
No, I mean, the only shout out I'm giving is
what's going on, so you can't shout out the Seminoles.
No. Well, we just got some commitments from some top players, but shout out to actually my basketball team. We had a solid weekend this past weekend. at the FSU camp. We actually went 5-3, I think it was, or 6-3, something like that. And had a good showing. My man Anthony Robinson, I mean, he had a really good weekend. I don't know, he averaged about 30 points, it looked like.
He's coming into his own.
Yeah, he was dynamic. And so now he was there at SMU the last couple of days. But and Hope is doing an internship in New York. She's there at Nickelodeon.
Nice.
And she's also went yesterday to the NFL office for the day. So she shadowed at the NFL office as well. So she'll be with Nickelodeon for the next couple weeks with my cousin.
That's nice. That's nice.
Are you gonna let her douse you with green slime? Because that used to be the show on Nickelodeon for his kids. If that happens, we need video of that.
Yeah. Tell Hope to call us.
Yep.
No, I'm not doing a slime. I've been on a show where they've done that.
Did you get slime?
No.
That's something he's agreeing to. That's hilarious.
I hope it's into it. I guarantee that.
That's hilarious. All right, Coach. We want to stay on everybody's good side, so we're gonna let you go. We'll close it out.
All right.
Appreciate you, man.
Hey, Coach.
I appreciate you guys. All right.
All right. That was a good interview, my brother. That really was. Phil is an impressive guy, and we got to make that Charlie Ward, Phil Morrison thing happen.
I was like, I had to get him on the show. I was like, it's right up Charlie's alley.
Oh yeah.
Person and being faith-based, him and Charlie, they're kindred spirits, and I was like, I had to get him on the show because I needed them to meet each other.
You did well, sir. We gotta keep that connection going. Okay. You got any shouts for us, man? You good?
I got shout-outs. I got two shouts.
Yeah.
One to the Ballard softball team. They completed their task. They went 39-0 and won the state.
And kept the rocks intact, I'm sure.
Crazy rock.
That's congratulations to them, man. That's awesome.
Out to them. They're an amazing bunch. They're a great group of kids. Their pitcher's only 5'5". And the thing about softball, she's very small to be a pitcher, but
that's very small. That's tiny.
40 strikeouts in the 4 state tournament games.
Wow.
So yeah, they were amazing. Also, shout out. I wish we could have done this before Charlie left, but shout out to Charlie and shout out to you and shout out to all the fathers coming up. Father's Day is this Sunday. And shout out to all the dads out there doing their job as dads. So shout out to you guys.
Well, thank you, sir. And by the way, I'm glad you said that because we got an amazing couple of days. But Friday, we're normally we do Black Friday on Talking Noise, but we're going to do a Black Friday on Thursday night so that we can do a special Black Friday honoring Black men and the Black legacy. All of that's going down this weekend or this Friday rather, because we fathers, we don't be getting no love, man. So we're going to try to show the fathers some love over the next couple of days. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So shout out. But thank you for that. Appreciate that. Shout out to my girls who have really spent the entire week celebrating their dad. They blew me away yesterday, giving me some gift cards. I was like, where y'all get money from? So is this allowance too high? Because they gave me some gift cards. That was really cool. So I was like, okay, well, that's what's up. So it's been a great week. I've enjoyed myself this week. And again, this was a really, really amazing interview. Goes down as one of my favorites. But tonight, NBA Finals, man, who you got? You got Golden State closing it out. What you see?
I think they closed it out. I wasn't that confident in it. I thought it was going to go 7, but when Steph Curry has his worst game in his playoff career, and they still it said 10, but it was really 13 points.
Right.
Because they hit Boston at that meaningless 3 at the end of the game. When that happens and they still win, I kind of think the series over. The crazy thing is, which I've tried to explain to my girlfriend, she thinks I'm crazy. I think Boston's the better team, but I think Golden State's going to win the series.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. That is one of the better defensive teams I think I've ever seen. Boston, like top to bottom, they play a really connected brand of defense, better than I've maybe seen in the last 3 or 4 years. And with that being said, I think tonight is the final night. I picked to start the series. I picked Golden State in 6 because I didn't see how Boston was going to put 4 games together of outscoring this team, and I still feel that way. It's hard, man. Especially when you don't know, like Steph is going to be Steph, but then you don't know where this other thing is coming from, and I don't know how you prepare for that. So now it feels like that other thing is going to be coming from everywhere because there's blood in the water. So I don't know. They could push it to 7. We'll see tonight, but I have a feeling.
Honestly, I'm surprised if Boston came back and won the whole series. I really would not be shocked. But the thing is, like, because now if you're Boston, you're in this conundrum. Okay, we laid off Steph and basically guarded everybody else and let him go nuts, and we lost.
Right.
We guarded Steph and contained him. Then Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins go nuts and they beat him. And Poole had a nice little stretch in that last game too that didn't get talked about a lot, but Poole was
right. And
so what do you do? And that's the problems that Golden State puts in front of you. And the funny thing is, Boston's deeper.
They are deeper, but it's just
Boston's the better team. It's just not their time yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue top to bottom that Boston is the better team. I think the challenge is, man, Golden State has the experience. They got 2 or 3 other better players. It's just a weird series for Boston, man. It's a weird matchup, and it's probably not the best matchup for what they do. Anyway, it's gonna be a fun night. We'll be all watching tonight, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But thank you guys for pulling up for the podcast one more time. That guy that left was Charlie Ward. He's our Heisman Trophy and state championship coach. That guy that stayed, he's our Hall of Famer, Kendrick Haskins. I'm Lloyd Spence. We will see you guys. Actually, we probably won't see you next week, and I'll be explaining that to Kendrick in just a minute. But we probably won't see you next week. But we'll see you when we come back. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your time away as we'll have our time away. It's Believe in the ACC. We'll see you later. You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard.